In this video, I will be removing and installing new brake pads on this 2017 Chevy Equinox. Well, first thing I'm doing is I'm making sure my vehicle is on a level ground, and I'm going to go ahead and jack up the rear tire. Place the jack stand for safety. I'll be using a 7/8 socket with my electric impact. If you had to do this by hand with a breaker bar, you would leave the tire on the ground so it wouldn't move on you. Loosen these up a little bit, then you can lift the wheel up and remove the nuts by hand. Sometimes these tires can be tough to get off. This one's kind of stuck on there. If you give it a few kicks in different places, it will come off. There you go. What happens is the hub, this area right here, corrodes and just gets stuck on the rim. Here is your rear brake caliper on the right side of the vehicle. We're going to push that piston back into the housing with the help of a screwdriver. So I'm going to kind of jam the screwdriver between this side here, the caliper on the outside, and the rotor. So kind of get it on the rotor and then just pull the caliper outward or towards the outside of the vehicle. And that piston should go back nice and smoothly. If that piston is difficult to get back inside the caliper, you might have an issue with the piston or the caliper or both, and you might have to replace that. But this one goes back really nice. Everything seems to operate real smooth. So this is going to be a simple job. Using my 14 millimeter, and go ahead and take off the caliper bolt on this side. Now you can do two things here. You can leave this caliper bolt in place, and to get the caliper off, all you have to do is pick up the lower section and slide it out like I'm about to do. Or you can remove this caliper bolt too to save time. I'm just going to slide this out. If the boot comes off with the pin, you can just put the boot back on. It's no big deal. Now I'm going to take the caliper and just let it rest right here without hanging on the hose. Now these pins are in real good condition. I'm going to go ahead and wipe off the old grease. Now I will grease it with what I like to use, Mobil 1 synthetic grease. Real good stuff. Put it back in there, move it around, work it good. This one I'm going to lube, and then we'll just leave it aside for now. With the use of a screwdriver, we're going to pop the brake pads out. Okay, this is pretty much stuck in there. Wow, okay. Whew, that was stuck in there, but anyway. So the reason I'm doing the brake pad change is because they are low. I didn't want them to grind onto the rotor, because right now, these are the factory rotors on this car, and there is no issues with these rotors. They're not pulsating when you step on the brake, the car's not shaking, nothing like that. Hence why I'm doing just what we like to call in the business a pad slap. I am going to reuse the shim on the back side. So I just take the shim off. I'm just going to wipe this Remove the old hardware. Using a screwdriver, just pop that stuff out. If there's any rust on the bracket, this bracket's in excellent condition. You need to get the rust off, whether you use a wire brush or a screwdriver, you know, whatever. You got to clean that up before you can put the hardware on. What I like to do is I like to put a little bit of grease on the bracket, and it just prevents it from, you know, rusting up. Now I know some of you are going to say, oh, you're getting grease on the rotor. It's no big deal. Now with the new hardware, I like to throw a little bit of grease with the pad rides. Just a small amount. And then we put the hardware right on. There we go. Same thing with the top one. And we just put that in place. There we go. Now the new pad, the one with the sensor, or this little tab here, that's your sensor, low pad sensor. That goes on the inside of the rotor, like that. We want to put this shim back on, just like it was on the old pad. And then we can slide this into place. And the outside pad. These are ceramic pads. They're made by Wagner. They're supposed to be original equipment. I don't know, that's what they say. And I like ceramic pads because they have more braking power. I think they last longer and they create a lot less dust than metallic pads or organic pads do. So now, once you're to this point, your pads are installed. Take your caliper, put this pin in first. Work it, spread that grease around inside that pin. And now we can go over the pads with it. Get your caliper bolt in place and tighten it up. Now you see how this pin is turning as I turn that bolt, so I can't tighten it. Simply take a 17mm wrench, hold that pin, and now you should be able to tighten the caliper bolt. Here's a little trick. To prevent that hub from corroding, I'll put some grease on it. That should pretty much stop the hub from sticking to the rim. You're gonna have to remove the stand, drop the rear wheel back onto the ground. Now that the wheel's on the ground, I can torque the lug nuts. Once you've done both sides, you're gonna get in the vehicle, step on the brake pedal about 2 or 3 times, and just keep doing that till you get a good brake pedal. Then you can come out here to your brake master cylinder on this vehicle. This is the master cylinder right here, and you're gonna make sure it's full. If it is not at the full mark, you're going to add brake fluid. On the side, there's a line here that says max. It can be tough to see. If you put a light on the back side of it, you can probably see it, and it is a little low. So I'm going to add some. Now this calls for .3 brake fluid. It says it right on the cover. I'll put a link to everything that I've used on this vehicle in the description area below. That's it, folks. The only thing left is for me to take this for a test drive. But I want to reiterate, very important, step on the brake pedal 3-4 times till you get a good brake pedal. And what that does is you're pushing the fluid back into the calipers and taking up the space so the piston is pushed up against the brake pads. So when you do go to stop, you touch the brake pedal, you have brakes. And then check your master cylinder and you're good to go. A lot of pros will recommend that when you do a brake job, to take it easy on the brakes for the first 300 miles or so. Give yourself plenty of room to stop. Those brake pads do have to, they have to break into those rotors. And until that happens, you won't have maximum braking power. Other than that, any questions, comments, put them down below. See you all around.